welcome back to our channel. I'm Corey with Raising Kings Farm, and in today's video I'm going to share how we store to use a lot of the items from our Azure standard haul. That's Ruby in the background eating a Azure pear while she's doing the dishwasher. Okay, so the view doesn't look too different than the last video, and to be totally honest, sometimes it just gets that way because the order is huge and there's a lot of moving parts to getting all of this put away. So first and foremost, we always get our freezer stuff put away. The fruit we put into quart-sized freezer bags and freeze all the frozen fruit and vegetables. That way it's more manageable. And now I'm gonna kind of share how we store some of our beans and grains and things like that. So we order them in like a giant bag. So they come like huge like this. So this is 10 pounds of pasta, for instance. Oh, thank you. Then we also order 25 pounds of beans at a time, things like that. So we store our things in different size food grade buckets. So this is a 5 gallon bucket. We also have, I think it's 3 gallon buckets is the other size that we have a lot of. They were out of more 3 gallon buckets, so I had to just get 5 gallon buckets. So they're gonna be kind of empty. It's gonna be a little sad, but it is what it is. So in order to keep like a working amount in the kitchen, I save like big jars. Like this is a pickle jar. I don't know if you saw in one of our other videos, I had bought a bunch of big, huge pickles because I wanted the jars. Plus, I really wanted these jars. And so I thought, you know what? My kids love pickle soup, is one of their favorites. So got 3 things of pickles to make the pickle soup and to save the jars. Like this is buckwheat. So I'll fill these with like a kitchen amount, and then the rest will go in the food grade bucket into storage. And then as needed, I just assign a kiddo to refill the kitchen, and I'll mark on the board what needs to be refilled. And then they will get those. It's like magic that just gets refilled. I do that. So things we have in buckets currently is sugar. We use organic cane sugar. We were out, so we just got a 50-pound bag. All kinds of beans. We have black beans, navy beans, great northern beans, pinto beans. Ruby, you want to bring me that jar of beans behind you? Split peas. We have a lot of oatmeal. So this is what I do with my beans. I can a lot of it. So we just canned some of this last night, just to have it easy to go on the shelf. I'll make with my pinto beans refried beans, and then I just can beans. Sometimes I'll put chili seasoning for like a chili amount, like a chili base bean. So you dump it in there and it's already seasoned. With our black beans, I can them as brownie beans. So I can the amount that it takes for our recipe to make black bean brownies. I saw that you can also, hey Ruth, can you wait just a second to do that? It's kind of noisy. I'm so sorry. Thank you. So I got a recipe for the Great Northern beans and navy beans to make also like the brownies, except they're like blondies instead of brown. So I can't wait to share that with you guys and try it out with you. Yeah, so that's kind of what we do with our beans. So the biggest thing is when you order bulk is like knowing what you're going to do with this large amount of things that you're ordering. Otherwise, I promise you, they'll just sit in a bucket in storage forever. And that's not what we need. So Ruby, honey, let's just do that later. Thank you so much. Okay, so that is the bean situation. The split peas, same thing, except I don't jar it, just the split peas. I jar it as soup, or I put it in a thing like this. And if you don't have a ton of like glass jars, I'm sure, I mean, at Azure you can order them. I'm sure you can definitely find them at Walmart. But you guys, I'm not a huge person that suggests consumerism. Like, don't just buy stuff. In my opinion, don't just buy stuff because it looks pretty and like you think you need it. You can get to a place where like you can be doing that, but when you're first starting and trying to get loaded up, you don't need all of that. So what I did was got this coconut oil. This is how I order my coconut oil from Azure. It's like a big, huge, what is this? One gallon of coconut oil. And so when these are out, then I fill them with other things. So I have oatmeal in this. This is like the size that I have for my working kitchen pantry of oatmeal and rice and things like that. I don't think you can can rice. I really don't think so. It would just get super mushy. So we just keep that dry, just like our grains here. But as far as the grains, I like my rice, my flours, I freeze them. So I make sure I have a empty spot in the freezer. I freeze them for, I don't know what like the recommended amount is. Usually I just kind of leave them there and move on with my life, but I don't know, at least 3 days. So I leave them in there and then I bring them back to room temperature. So you have to let them sit for a day or so because you don't want to put them in the buckets until they are room temperature. Otherwise they'll sweat in the bucket and mold. So you have to let them just come back to room temperature. The reason I do that is because no matter like how safe and great you are at your grains, it's totally disgusting, but there is just gonna be eggs of some insect kind in your things. It's just like microscopic, you can't see them, kind of a craziness. So freezing it helps cut that down. And then I am like just a crazy person. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk losing a bucket of things. So I also add some food grade diatomaceous earth. I sprinkle that on top of my bucket and let it shift down. Diatomaceous earth will kill any bugs that are in there, and it's safe for humans to eat. In fact, humans can eat it as a anti-parasitic kind of a option. The kids and I used to have a little bit in our smoothie. Haven't been doing that lately just forgot, but that's what we use that. Now you can also use diatomaceous earth in the garden to help cut back on pest pressure. So I sprinkle that and then I take it another step. I know it's overkill. I think you could probably just do one of these things, but I also add an oxygen absorber. I knew I brought it. I add an oxygen absorber to the bucket as well. So this is what they look like. It's similar to like the things you get like at the store. So you'll open like a bag of beef jerky and an oxygen absorber will be in there. So that's what we use. That's how we store that. I think that's all the grains, the different things like that. So as far as like the big root vegetable kind of a things, we have an extra fridge in our garage and we store this time beets. I've never ordered beets before this amount. So I'll store my beets and my carrots and my cabbage in there until I get the kitchen put back together, and then I'll dive into that. Yeah, so that's kind of what we have going on. The biggest thing to do when you are preparing, not only on the front end, but also on the back end. So like preparing is to think when you're ordering these things, like, do you need to order the buckets? Azure sells 5-gallon buckets, 3-gallon buckets, 2.5-gallon buckets. They sell the gamma lids that I love, that just screw on and off. They also sell the ones that like pop on and then you have to like pop them off. Some people love those. I have little people that help me, so I just want to make sure it's as easy as possible and that it will get closed properly and I don't lose anything. So we also will label these. We have a label maker, but you guys, you could just get like a wet erase marker and just write what you have in the bucket, because sometimes it's going to rotate around. You might order something and realize like you didn't need a 5-gallon bucket amount. I did that with lentils. Still have a 5-gallon, well, it's like half of a 5-gallon bucket at this point. But I'm just adding it to everything. I got it as a protein source, but I just kind of forget to add it to things. So that's what I've been doing with lentils. When the lentils are gone, they're not going to go in a 5-gallon bucket. So that is something that I can change the label and repurpose that for a different item that we are using more. So preparing for storing things, preparing for your use of all the things. Sometimes it's helpful to just take a piece of paper, write down all the things you have in storage. That way when you're making your menu plan or your meal plan, you have an idea of what you have in store. A fun thing that our family does is in January and February, we just eat out of our pantry. I do save, set aside a little bit of money to get some like fresh fruits and vegetables, which I don't think we honestly really do. We do have a couple birthdays during that time, and I think that's really all that we use that extra money for. But we just eat out of our pantry. January and February, it's Three Rivers Homestead has a challenge. I can't remember. I think it's just called the Pantry Challenge. So we'll be doing that and sharing what we're doing, eating out of our pantry. So that's another big reason why we do stock up at this time. And then this honestly will get us through. So right now is November. It'll get us through happily until March. We'll add just a few things, but then I won't need to order like the huge order that I just did. So we just do that once a year, and then I just kind of do little subsequent orders in the summer, mostly to get like canning things that I need to can, like vinegar and different things that I ran out of as ingredients for my canning things. Yeah, what's your favorite thing, Ruby, from Azure? She loves it all. She loves it all. All right, friends. Well, I better let y'all go. I better go get my house put together so that we can get going. I have back here, right there, my electric pressure canner, and that has been just like rotating through. I paused it so that I could make this video so it's not loud, but it does help a bunch if you're fresh and new to homesteading and preserving your own food. The electric pressure canner is super awesome, especially if you're not familiar with pressure canning, but it's also really, really nice to have when you are a seasoned pressure canner. You can just kind of set it and like go about your life, and it maintains the pressure. Like you don't have to worry about like monitoring it as closely, and it like cools itself down. It's really, really nice to have. You don't have to worry about being right there to click the heat off. So the only downfall is it only holds 5 quarts versus most pressure canners will hold at least 7 quarts, which is fine. So we've just been rotating through. Yesterday I did 10 quarts of dried beans. Today I'm going to do some refried beans in there, and some blondie beans. So it'll be just great. We try to just fill things in tiny pockets of time that we have around here. So I will let you guys go. I already said that, but I'm for real this time. All right, guys, have a great day.